Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cat AI Webinars. We're excited to have you, so let's just hop in. Okay, so I'm Ashley, and I'm going to be one of your hosts. I'm just going to be in the back helping with tooling and the polling, and then we have Dwayne, our speaker, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey guys, I'm Dwayne Robinson, Principal Solution Architect in the CAT organization for Copilot Studio. And happy to be here today. If you guys want to connect with me or go check out any of the kind of content that I make for educational purposes as well, feel free to scan the QR code that's on the screen and you can go check all that out. But glad to be here today.
Awesome, and very glad to have you.
So let's talk about what's new or what was announced at for Copilot Studio at Ignite for 2025. Just be aware, guys, a couple of key things is I am going to give you a couple of demos and stuff, but we're going to primarily keep this conversation around just what was announced around Copilot Studio. I'll give you a little bit of a taste on Agent 365 stuff and things of that nature, but just know that the Narav session will be the one that you'll want to go to for depth on Agent 365. But we will definitely start talking about just kind of what all happened. And I don't know how many of you actually were able to attend or do any of the virtual, but you should absolutely go back. Most of the sessions are recorded. So if there's a topic that we're talking about today, know that you can go in and actually get a lot more information by going in. And I'll also be doing a lot more educational content about some of this stuff. I had to hold off a little bit on all the videos I was making because I wanted to make sure all the announcements got done before I started making videos. So there will be a lot more videos coming. So definitely check that out. And let me jump to the next slide. So let's first start with a quick update on Copilot Studio adoption. So be aware that Copilot Studio now we have over 230,000 customers that are using Copilot Studio at this point. So that's a major jump for us to see that the adoption of Copilot Studio has just really been taking off as of late. So just be aware that there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of value that we're starting to see, as well as we're seeing a lot of different industries jumping in as well. Matter of fact, at this point in the Fortune 500, we're at about 90% of the Fortune 500 have used Copilot Studio, and a lot of these different ones, all the way from Hewlett Packard to Carnival Cruise Lines and Cognizant and a lot of these other large companies, even like Virgin Money. So all these different industries are really starting to adopt. And we're seeing this not just in Copilot Studio being used in business to employee scenarios. We're also seeing a lot of business to consumer type of implementations as well. So just be aware that Copilot Studio can do all of those different aspects of it. And when we kind of talk about Copilot Studio and the way that you build with it, so we're not going to go into too much of this, but just to give you some perspective in case you're sort of new into Copilot Studio, just know that it is an end-to-end SaaS platform so that you can create, manage, and publish your different agents that you're building across the board. And the beauty of it is that now we can not only do we build agents, but we can build workflows, which are basically like autonomous agents. And we made it so that you can do it where you can just describe what you want. So you can just create it. You don't have to stand up all the different services and all this other stuff to be able to get your agent up and going. It's just as simple as a few clicks and describing what you want. And then from there, you really are able to go in and say, what do you want to trigger your agent or trigger your workflow so that you can go through and make it where it will do the things that you're looking for it to be able to do. And it's kind of like, if you think about if you build the virtual human, you need to tell it when to start doing its job. So the same thing can happen in workflows, which are done in an autonomous way. But even when you're having a conversational agent, you have different triggers because you might have something where when someone says something, you want the trigger to engage. So just be aware. A lot of cool aspects of things you can do with triggers. Then we go over to being able to chat with your knowledge. So a lot of people will plug this in. This is our SaaS-based RAG pattern, so that way you can just plug directly in your different pieces of knowledge and ask questions about that. And then we go into using workflows and being able to go in and say, hey, I'd like to be able to add my different workflows or Power Automate type of flow type of capabilities. So if you've got some business process automation or deterministic processes, being able to add those in, those things are capable for you. We can then take that and then combine it and orchestrate over multiple different agents or multiple different tools, because at the core, Copilot Studio is a conversation orchestrator at its core. So being able to figure out which tool and which child agent or connected agent or computer use agent or MCP servers, whatever you've added in to your agent, being able to figure out when and how to use those appropriately is part of what you'll see Copilot Studio doing. Then we take those things and we make sure that we can publish those and make them available to the different customers that or the different users. Rather that you want to be able to showcase to, but we also are making sure that we're focusing in, and you'll see this in some of the announcements, that governing and being able to manage your agent with these sophisticated capabilities that are being added and having the ability to put in these guardrails, that's a key part of what Copilot Studio is really focused on being able to bring. And a lot of the announcements you'll see will be around that, as well as monitoring and improving with rich analytics and observability, and even doing something like that's called custom evaluations. And we'll talk more about that. That's one of the major announcements that we were talking about at Ignite, as well as then you have this last part, which is, what if you want to go a little bit further and you want to go into some of the past capabilities and integrate directly into Azure Foundry? You can do this, and you can walk this circle around and around and continually improving your agent. But when we start talking about Copilot Studio, it's important to understand that Copilot Studio really has two different flavors that we have. Now, we used to refer to this as Copilot Studio Lite, and yes, I feel like we're going back and forth on the naming of this, but the name that we've kind of settled on now for the extending the M365 Copilot interface for Copilot Studio, which is going to be the Microsoft 365 Copilot Agent Builder. So this is going to be targeted at end users to be able to help end users be able to go build different agents and be able to build like different declarative agents and things of that nature. So we're going to start with what is the roadmap and what was new, what was announced at Ignite for this particular space. And we'll start with the fact that we've got a lot of different places that we've started to do enhancements. And agent creation and upgrade is one of the things that we really started to focus on. So we wanted to simplify the interface, make it easier for you to be able to go in and be able to build. We want you to be able to use natural language. We also want to be able to allow you to have like a very familiar flow in the way that you're working. So you're going to see that we did a lot of enhancements around being able to let you give iterative feedback, optimizing instructions for generation, and also support for configurations like adding knowledge and capabilities all within this interface and making it even easier for you guys to be able to do that. And not only that, that's actually become generally available, so you get the enhancements of all of this in a generally available package as part of the launch. So there was a enhancement to this interface for you guys. And if you haven't played with this, you should go check it out. We're just making this easier and easier and simpler and simpler. As we talk about making them more powerful, we did a lot of work inside of the the agent builder to be able to make sure that you could do some additional things. So one of it is that we wanted to take and make it where you can do things like you can use Office skills now to be able to generate Word, Excel, and PowerPoint documents. And so you'll see the number one item, and you'll see on the right-hand side, you'll see the cross-reference to where it is in the UI these days, so that you can see that now we can actually go in and create documents as part of the agent builder experience, which is pretty awesome because this was something you couldn't do on your custom agents, but now you can do that with your custom agents inside of the M365 Copilot and the agent builder interface. The other thing that we did is we made sure that that we got better responses with tons of knowledge sources. So we started adding teams, meetings, and things of this nature. So now what you're going to find is that you're able to actually talk about Teams meetings and use calendar information from your work profile and your org chart using OneNote. All of these things, making those things available as knowledge for you to be able to go use in your custom agents that are your agent builder custom agent implementations that you're working on. We also made it where you could increase the size to 512 megabytes, which is, again, another really good thing, as well as delegated and shared mailbox access. So now let's talk about the Copilot connector experience and being able to bring that in. So we got a lot more source control that we're adding in as well so that we can go in and connect to things like ADO, Confluence, Google Drive, GitHub. So all of these different aspects of these things being able to be added as additional data sources that you can come in and add as additional knowledge inside of Copilot Studio's agent builder function for M365. And then we also had it where it can only respond from authoritative knowledge. So again, there's a lot of people who want to reduce the fact that you can have hallucinations and things like that. This is a setting that was in full Copilot Studio that wasn't necessarily in your ability to build inside of the M365 Copilot extensibility layer. So we've now brought that back over for you to be able to do that so that you can make sure that it's really only answering questions, you not using model knowledge, but just on the sources of information that you've provided and your custom agents that you're building. The other thing is that we also made it so that you can go in and inside of your different Office clients, you'll be able to actually add in and chat with an agent directly within that. So you can see in the screen here, I think this is Word that you're seeing, and being able to actually chat with these custom agents that you've built through the agent builder right there with inside of Word and Excel and things of that nature. So pretty awesome that we were able to make that more available and more discoverable for people so that you can just stay in the flow of how you're working. We also started to introduce workflow agents. Now, workflow agents is really a major thing because we're not just having it where you have these declarative agents where you can go in and ask a question and get an answer. But a workflow agent is where we're going to actually be able to do an autonomous agent type of concept where you can go in and say, hey, I would like you to be able to go do this and go, check for new bug emails that are coming in and then automatically reply to them and do things. So you can build your own workflows now as part of the M365 Copilot through workflow agents. And you can build those using the agent builder functionality inside of the M365 Copilot, which is a part of Copilot Studio. So this is really awesome for like personal productivity and enablement. I have tons of them I personally am probably going to need to do myself. All of my friends are sure going to be happy that I'm finally responding to all my emails. So definitely check this out if you haven't played with this. This is a really awesome thing. It's coming out right now, just so you're aware. It's in what we call Frontier, and it got released in November for that. So stay tuned and know that this will be coming out and becoming more available to more and more customers as we go. But it is a major new investment that we've been going after inside of Copilot Studio across the board. Now let's jump over and let's talk about Copilot Studio, which is really intended now for pro makers to be able to build agents. And so when we start thinking about it, sure, there's a lot of discussion about low code, no code, and all that type of stuff, but just be aware that Copilot Studio itself, the full Copilot Studio, is sort of a key part there is going to be that it's really intended for pro makers. Now, one of the things that I didn't talk about before, but is something that we also did announce for Agent Builder, is there is an ability now that we will be releasing, which will allow you to elevate your agent. So you'll be able to copy your agent from Agent Builder into Copilot Studio so that you can take it from that light experience or that Agent Builder experience for an end user and take it into that full Pro Maker experience. And that's a feature that we've been working on for a really long time, which required us to get that feature parity between the two of these. And that's going to be one of the things that I think you guys are really going to love is that ability to do this. Now, if we go into Copilot Studio, though, and start talking about what we really started to focus on inside of Copilot Studio, you're going to see that we'll start with answers and tools. And one of the key things that we have absolutely heard from people and are going to make sure that this is one of the highest priority items for us is to make sure that we're going to bring the best RAG experience over SharePoint that we can bring. And what we mean by that, and if you're not familiar with RAG, retrieval augmented generation, basically like asking questions over data that's inside of SharePoint. This is something that we really spent a lot of time pushing for to be able to make it where we can answer questions in a much more effective fashion coming off of SharePoint, because we know that a lot of people are saying, when I'm inside a full Copilot Studio, I want to be able to get higher quality responses coming out of the SharePoint data. So if you'll notice in the screenshots, for example, you'll see on the left is the before agent and the right is the after agent. And you'll see that in this case, we were using the exact same data in both locations. But when I asked the question about the same question about plans or around like a medical plan coverage or insurance plans, you'll see that when on the left-hand side and the before agent, we had a whole lot of information that was kind of really not so helpful. It didn't really answer the question. Where on the right-hand side, you notice it actually goes in and answers the question much more effectively over the data that was inside of the files. And a lot of that has to do with some of the tweaking and some of the things that we're doing to make this better and better and better. Now, the beauty of this is that you guys are going to get the benefit of this without really having to do anything. It's just going to be part of what we're able to do with Copilot Studio by you just being on a SaaS platform and being able to take advantage of these enhancements that we're doing as we continue to go forward. Now, if you want to play with this today, you can go play with it. You can flip over to GPT-5 as your primary model. You'll see a huge increase in quality coming back. And it's not just because of the model, it's actually the improvements that we're doing to the RAG pattern itself coming out and making it available to you guys. So if you haven't played with this, know that this is a very, very much requested item for a lot of customers. So just be aware there's going to be a lot of great value coming out of this for you guys. So I think this is probably going to be one of the most popular new features is going to be these enhancements that we're doing on the quality. The other thing is that we also added some new tools, and those new tools that we went and added, one of them is Code Interpreter, and I'll talk about that one first. And Code Interpreter is going to give you the ability for you to generate Python code and execute Python code in real time as part of a prompt that you're going to build. So whenever you go in and you say, hey, I want to go and build this prompt and you want to analyze data and and show a graphical chart over it, for example, that's going to be something that you can do now with Code Interpreter to be able to allow you to do it. And again, basically behind the scenes, it's allowing that agent to go write small pieces of Python code that it will then execute to be able to answer the question that you have and allow you to be able to derive information. So if you're inside of like a report and you need to be able to calculate out some sort of answer based upon the data that you're seeing, being able to calculate that, you needed it to be able to go write the Python code to be able to calculate out what you were wanting to get out of that data set and then answer the question. Before with Copilot Studio, if the data didn't actually have it in it, it couldn't do that. So that's one of the values of Code Interpreter coming into Copilot Studio. And I think a lot of people are going to see a lot of value on this. Now, the other thing is that we also have announced and made available computer use. So computer use, if you're not familiar with computer use is sort of like the old RPA process where you used to be able to go in and say, the application that I want to interface with doesn't have an API, but it has a UI. And I want to be able to go in and click around and be able to fill in things. So if you're thinking like you want to fill in a form or you want to go and call a different application that's running on a computer, and let the AI just go through the UI of the application and do the work that you want. This is what computer use is going to be. And know that the big difference between it and RPA is RPA used to be it had to click specific locations on the screen. So if the UI of the application changed or the screen resolution changed, all of this stuff could affect it. Whereas now what you're able to do is just to be able to give instructions to the AI, and the AI will take those instructions, read the images on the screen, and navigate the application and be able to run it and execute everything for you. And with that, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you computer use so that you can see what it looks like. So what I'm going to do is, if my mouse will allow me to move, I'm going to jump in over here to Copilot Studio. And in this particular agent, what I had done is I actually created a new computer use agent or new computer use tool. Now, how you do that is you come in and you say add tool, and then you can say new tool, and you just click on computer use right here, and you can see I can come in and I can explain what I want it to do and all of that. Now, just for the sake of speed and time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one that I have here, which is I wanted to use an agent that would go out and be able to go to AT&T Wireless's website. I don't have access to their API, but you can go check to see if there's coverage at certain addresses for yourself on their website. So what I wanted to do is make it where it'll go out to their website, put in an address for the information about the address that I want to provide, and then I want it to then go through and answer the question of what kind of coverage is in that location. For a specific address. Yes?
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but can we zoom in a little bit? It's just a little...
Oh, sure.
Zoomed out.
Okay. I'll... a little better?
Thank you. I think maybe one more? Oh, no, it's great. People are sensitive. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. And by the way, guys, I'm going to zoom in like this in a minute. So you'll be able to see. So from the instructions here, just to give you an idea. So when we look at the instructions, you can see I've got all these different instructions that are here. Now you can go test those instructions if you wanted to. But we're also going to look down here and say, okay, well, there's inputs. Well, in these inputs, I'm saying, okay, well, I need to collect the address to provide an address. And you can even come in and say, here is the address that or the explanation of what I'm looking for. And you can see, just like an API, you can have an input to the UI that you're wanting to collect. So in this case, I'm wanting to collect the address. Then we get into this location, which is, okay, what's the connection that I'm going to use to connect to this different hosted machine? And do I want a hosted browser and things of that nature? And so what you can do is you can change from like a hosted browser, you can have like a group of machines that you have yourself configured and everything. So it makes it where there's a lot of different options for you, including, oh, I don't want you to use the authentication. I want you to authenticate this computer as the user so that way it does this as different things. And you can see here's like stored credentials. We also have allowed websites and things like that. So if you want to say only specific websites could be used and everything. So, and again, this is on a hosted browser option that we have. Now, you can choose that you could have your own custom apps and everything, but just know that hosted browser means that we're just going to go to a pool of them. And for the scenario I had here, that's the way that I went about it. Now, when you run these, it can take a minute for it to take place. But in the case of this, I basically said I wanted to do this for the Gaylord Palms Hotel, and I wanted to figure out what were the actual steps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this really quick so that you can see what it did on the background. And you'll see here that the first thing it did is it goes in and it says, okay, it's going to open a web browser. Then the next thing it does is it needs to go figure out where in the web browser does it need to go. And what it does is it jumps into the URL and clicks in. The next thing it went and did is it went and it actually entered the URL I gave it to go look for, to go find the website. And then it comes in and then it goes to the website. And now you can see on the AT&T website, it's actually this little UI that's like overlaying on a map. And it's got this box that it needs to fill out. So what did it do? It identified that's where I need to put the address. Now it comes in, and again, I didn't actually give it an address. I gave it the Gaylord Palms Hotel. And so that means that it's going to need to figure this out. And when you do that, and you on the AT&T wireless website, it actually comes up with a little pop-up and it says, wait a minute, which of these are you talking about? In the case of this, it's going to automatically go and address that, and it selects the Gaylord Palms Hotel, the correct one, out of that list. Now, in some cases, whenever we run this demo, like a pop-up will come up where they want to ask you a question about, do you want to do a survey? And so it'll actually dismiss that for you. Like, it doesn't have to be in the instruction sets. It'll go, oh, well, it's asking me to do that. I don't want to do that. And so then it populates that, and then you'll see that in the image here that it literally went in and it gave us this little piece of information here that's inside of the coverage area. And if we go back out over here and we look at the answer, you'll see that it actually came back with the answer for the Gaylord Palms Hotel. Now, the beauty of this is that as you're looking at it and you're looking through, you can actually see the activity feed here and each of the steps and what it was doing in each of these different steps as it went through, so that you can troubleshoot this. And then you'll even get like a summary of everything that happened. You'll see here how long it took for it to do it, whether it was using a hosted web browser. All of these things are available for you, and you can even export the session logs and be able to go and build. So this is just extremely powerful for people who are wanting to be able to do stuff that maybe isn't necessarily got an API that they're wanting to get access to. So again, computer use is a really cool new thing that we've made available, and I'm pretty sure that went generally available at the event. So with that, let's move on. And let's talk about evaluations and analytics, because this was another thing that was really major that we announced. So we added the ability to have new analytics capabilities inside of Copilot Studio. And a lot of what you're going to see is that it's not just about building inside of Copilot Studio, it's about running and operating it. And so one of the things that you need to understand is going to be, what about feedback coming in, and where are you getting feedback? How do your connected and child agents, how are they performing performing? How do you optimize an agent's utilization with like visibility into how many credits are being consumed for different things that are coming back? What are the qualities of the responses that are coming back across the board? And then being able to get a summary of the top analytics and insights over that, so you can see themes, for example, that are happening within your implementation, and being able to see all of the different aspects of that. You can even see that you can go in and find information on the analytics where you can decide if there is additional insight that you need to get around specific tools or a specific piece of knowledge, for example. So the other part of this is that we also added evaluations into Copilot Studio. And if you're not familiar with what an evaluation is, if you're familiar with the Copilot Studio kit, it had a testing capability for you to be able to go in and run tests against your agent to evaluate the quality. Is your agent performing or is it not performing? And one of the things that we can do now inside of Copilot Studio without necessarily having to install the kit is we can actually go build evaluations and run these different structured tests against your agent and determine if your agent is continuing to be successful, or it helps you with regression testing, all of these different things. You can build your test sets, you can import test sets that you have. You can also measure the detailed results to see if it's meeting your needs and things of this nature. And you can also iterate until you reach like the best passing score. So this way, if you're trying to figure out how to tune your agent to get the best quality agent that you have, this is going to be a way that you can do it. So one of the things I wanted to show you guys was evaluations. Sorry?
I did want to just hop in and say, like, this sounds very cool. I just want to say we're got about 20 minutes left, so just letting you know.
Yep, no worries. Okay, so we're going to jump into evaluations, and let's take a look at an evaluation here. Oh, it will let me.
We do have an eval session in Jan, so in the interest of time, we could skip the demo and cover more content, but up to you, just calling it out. Yeah.
Yep. We'll jump in really quick just to take a look. So with this, you have the ability to create a test set, and just be aware that you can even come in and say, maybe you want to generate 10 questions off the top of this. What you'll see here is because it knows all the different aspects of what you can do, you'll be able to go in and do that. You'll also be able to see here that you can see the different qualities, you can compare the meaning, you can determine the similarity, and you can even say it needs to exactly match this or partially match with these different keywords. So evaluations are going to be super key for you to be able to really improve. And so just be aware that this is one of the major things that we made sure that we produced as part of at Ignite. So then we're going to jump in and let's talk about model choice and multi-agent. So model choice and multi-agent, what we did is we made sure that model choice came out. And now one of the major things that we're doing is at the same time that an AI model is launched by OpenAI or Anthropic, you're going to see it show up inside of Copilot Studio. So you're going to start seeing models come in as quick as possible into Copilot Studio. And you're also seeing us go beyond OpenAI models to be able to allow you to be able to select models that are beyond just things that are created by OpenAI, such as Anthropic models. And know that this is changing the entire orchestration engine and response generation parts of the orchestrator of Copilot Studio when you switch these. So you're going to see a difference in the way that it, not only that it responds, but also the way that it orchestrates the conversation. And that's why it's a controlled set, and not we support you bring your own model in prompts, because in that space, it makes a lot more sense where you might want to use your own custom models and things of this nature. In this case, these are the ones that we are curating and making available for you so that it orchestrates well and things of that nature. Because an example would be a mini model makes no sense to use for the orchestration. It just wouldn't perform. So that's why you can't bring completely your own model here, but you're going to see that we will make this work and let you experiment with all the different ones that are available. So definitely go check these out. And GPT-5 Chat actually went general availability as well at the event. So last piece is going to be core admin and governance capabilities. So we went in and we made sure that we included agent control systems to allow you to be able to go into the Power Platform Admin Center. You're going to see that you'll be able to discover like the new AI capabilities in it. You're going to have all these overviews that are going to be inside of it. It also allows you to be able to go in and say that you want to track your adoption, figure out how much a particular agent is consuming as far as credits, and even optimize your spending and limit how much spending you have. You also can see all of your agents in one central view now. Because we added an agent inventory that will allow you to be able to go in and look at your different agents and be able to sort them, search for them, and be able to give you a centralized inventory. I think the number that was thrown out at the event is that Copilot Studio and the list of agents inside of Microsoft, for example, and MSIT is like over 1.6 million of them. So being able to give you that central inventory to be able to go find the ones that you're looking for and handle this is going to be a key aspect of it. And then being able to give you those granular AI controls so that you can go in and say that these are the different connectors that you want to allow in different places, and also being able to really lock down the knowledge and the tools that you're wanting to make available, and also manage the allowed identities that can do that. It also lets us make it where you can limit the sharing and channels. You can block or delete agents when needed to. All of these capabilities have come into the AI controls for us to be able to really be able to go in and give you full granular control inside of Copilot Studio. The other is, again, cost management, being able to say whether you want to spend a certain amount or set limits on how much you want to allow an agent to be able to consume, and be able to get notifications when your consumption's starting to hit certain things, allow you to be able to burst to pay as you go whenever if you're going to consume more than you had allocated. All of those capabilities are things that are out and available in public preview. And then there's this last part, which is I'm going to lead into a little bit here, which is Agent 365. And one of the major announcements was that Agent 365 was a thing, and that allows us to be able to say that an agent has an identity. It allows you to be able to say this actual agent is addressable as a user, and being able to do that means they can have their own email inbox. You can interact with them in chats. You can @mention them. All of these capabilities, you can apply security to them and things of that nature. And this is a major, major innovation, because it's not just tied to only Copilot Studio, but any agent across the board. And integration with Copilot Studio will be one of the things that will be part of this. Now, this is going to be in an early access currently right now, but it's going to get more and more information. And if you want more information on this, I highly recommend that you guys put it on your calendar, December 17th, when Nirav comes in to go over this. You guys are going to want to be there. This is a major, major enhancement and a major new announcement for us. So this is really exciting.
Yeah, that was it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day, evening, morning, noon, night.